Hi, I'm Adam Mansell. I'm the Chief Executive of the UK Fashion and Textile Association.
Perfect. Is microphone okay?
Yeah, microphone sounds great.
Okay, great. So first of all, could you just give us a general idea of how much of the fashion manufacturing business is based in London compared to the rest of the UK?
It's very difficult to give a precise answer to that. There are pockets of manufacturing in London, but there's pockets of manufacturing throughout the UK. It kind of depends on what you're looking at, whether you're looking at making clothes, whether you're looking at making garments, and whether you're looking at spinning of fibres, whether you're looking at weaving of fabrics. The majority of the companies that are based in London are actually making clothes. So for instance, the shirt I'm wearing and the tie I'm wearing are both made in London. There's about 150-ish manufacturers in London. Most of those are small CMT units, so cut, make and trim units of people that are making clothes. There's probably over 1,000 manufacturing units across the whole of the UK, so it's 10% or less, but that's a very, very rough figure, and that's just counting the number of companies rather than the turnover. So that in turnover terms, a lot of the companies that are based up in Yorkshire and Manchester and Scotland are turning over a considerable amount of money in comparison to the smaller companies that are in London.
Okay. And we noticed that there's a small pocket based in East London, and they're sort of, I think they're mid-sized factories. Do you know why that's sort of an area that's quite focused for manufacturing?
It's a historic reason. There were pockets of manufacturing throughout all sorts of different areas within London. I mean, there used to be manufacturing in the back of Tottenham Court Road, for instance, but as the industry changed and as the majority of manufacturing went offshore, a lot of those closed down, and it's just a historic leftover that Hackney and Haringey and places like that have maintained their manufacturing capabilities. Both Hackney and Haringey councils have invested quite heavily in clothing manufacturing in particular. There's a fantastic outfit in Haringey called Fashion Capital, Fashion Inter that do wonderful, great things, and Haringey Council have been very supportive of them in terms of helping them with their apprenticeship programme and stuff like that. And Hackney are trying to see if they can set up a fashion hub within Hackney. So they're recognising what's out there and seeing what they can do to help support it and grow it.
What are the benefits for these factories being based in London?
It's down to closeness of market. A lot of the companies that are manufacturing in the UK, in London, are providing very high-end garments to the sort of companies that show at London Fashion Week. So it's about that closeness to market, that proximity to market. It's so that the designers can go and actually go and see the manufacturing, talk to the guys, help them sort out the technical problems and stuff like that. So a lot of it is to do with that. They're doing high-end runs, they're doing short runs, and it's because the designers are based in London, so that part of the manufacturing capability is also based in London.
And what are the challenges that are being faced?
There's all sorts of challenges being a manufacturer. It doesn't really matter whether it's in London or elsewhere. One of the key areas where there's lots of concern at the moment is about how do you get new people into manufacturing. There's about 5,000 design graduates come out of the UK every year, and most of those, and I'm generalising here, most of those either want to be a designer or they want to be a buyer. There's very little appreciation of the skill and craftsmanship that goes into being a manufacturer. And there's a considerable concern, whether you're in London, whether in Yorkshire or the East Midlands, about if you're a factory owner, how do you get young people in to become to get involved in the manufacturing process. There's a sort of long-term view about dark satanic mills. You don't want to work in a factory. My dad used to work in a factory, my granddad used to work in a factory, and they all got laid off. Times are different now, and there's a real career progression for people in the industry. Those manufacturers that are left in the UK now, left in London now, have survived some very tough times. So those companies that are left have got secure, serious businesses, and you can earn decent money as a machinist or as a garment tech or as a weaver within the industries. But it is getting over that hurdle of everyone wanting to be a designer and not everyone wanting to be a manufacturer.
And just lastly, what do you see for the future of manufacturing in London? Do you hope to see it expand?
Yeah, there's no reason why it shouldn't. A lot of the manufacturers that are currently there are growing in size. One that I know very well, who won our Manufacturer of the Year award last year, a company called Sour Grape, who make for a lot of serious, well-known designer names. They've doubled their factory in the past year. Others, there's a new textile outfit set up. There's Albion Knitting, who've recently established themselves in London. So there's lots of growth areas. I think and that applies across the UK, there's been a real resurgence and interest of UK manufactured goods. for all sorts of reasons. One, it's sometimes actually cheaper to make it in the UK than it is to get it imported from China. As I said earlier, you're much closer to your manufacturing source, so retailers and brands can go in and actually see what's happening. And if they sell out of a product very quickly, it's a lot easier to get it made here and shipped quicker than it is to get it freighted in from China. So there's lots of growth areas in manufacturing, but I think it won't be like it used to be in the 70s and 80s. In the mid-70s, there were over 1 million people involved in manufacturing of clothing and textiles in the UK. There's now about 100,000. There's going to be a growth in the sort of areas where there's a high-end premium product. As I said earlier, my shirt and tie are made in London. This tie retails for about 90 quid. So it's not a throwaway disposable item. It's a high craft value item. So there will be a growth in those small niche areas, but probably not in that sort of larger volume manufacturing. But it's looking pretty positive out there.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's